What's going on, guys? AJ back here with another YouTube video for you. Today we're going to be scaling the car. So I've been pretty busy all week and haven't really had time to get out here in the shop to get this thing ready for tomorrow. But finally found some time and get this thing all set up so that way we're in the ballpark and that way we can get a good reading as to where we're at before our first race next month. One thing I do want to start out the video today and say I too make mistakes. So when I was changing the rear end, I definitely meant to put a new gasket in there and totally forgot. So in order to change that, I had to drain all of the gear oil and take the gear out and do all that fun stuff again, which was my fault. I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But lesson learned, make sure you check your gaskets before you put your gear in. So after that public service note, we're going to get into this. The first thing I want to specify when I go to set up the car is before you start setting ride heights, make sure you set your tire pressures. Because if you don't have your tire pressure set, that little bit of variance, if you're pushing the envelope or anything, could be the difference between passing at the end of the race or getting DQ'd. So you definitely want to make sure you set your air pressures first. And I'm going to show you guys kind of what I do to set ride heights. So basically what I do is I roll them into these boxes, which is the same every single time. That's kind of why I put those markings there. So that way I know for sure I'm on a somewhat flat surface. So I will set the ride heights and then put it on scales because it should be pretty close based off of where we are level-wise in my shop, which is good. So we're gonna start setting ride heights, get them close, and then once it's on scales, we'll get all the percentages and stuff where they need to be. It's probably gonna take me a little bit longer to do it just because this is the first time doing it with the FC and the 50-pound weight break and the different right side weight rule. So it's probably gonna take me a little bit of playing around to get it right, but we're gonna set ride heights and then we'll get it up on scales. All right, so what I do to set ride heights is I always use the same tape measure. It doesn't matter which tape measure you use, but I know there is some variances in tape measures, but to eliminate that, just try to use the same tape measure every time. So what I do is I will come under here and get my ride height from, you can kind of see the frame mill right there. I measure from the further forward part because that's where they're gonna tech you on. And then what I do to change the ride height is the collar right there. You can see it's just kind of in a spot right now. Basically all you do is you twist that nut, and if they're upside down, if you go up, it's going to raise the car up, and if you go down, that's going to lower the car. So it's going to be the opposite on the rears. If they're flipped upside down, you're going to want to go in, make it shorter, make the collar shorter, basically where the nut is, and then that will raise the car up, and then the further you let it down or let it out, it's going to lower the car. So it's a little confusing the first couple times you do it, but after you do it, even though some people will just mount all the shocks the same way all the way around, which is fine. If you're gonna get confused at the track, I definitely recommend doing that. So we're gonna get ride heights set, and then I'll get back with you guys when we go to get this thing up on scales. Okay, so it is much later in the day. I'm gonna show you the exact reason why I go through such a lengthy process of checking everything before I go test the first time. So you see how this lower control arm, the bolt, you can get to it down here. I guess when I was preparing my lowers and stuff, I mislabeled them, so they were backwards. So you see how this one's up here? Yeah, that's actually a right that's on the left. So with those not being labeled, must be I just messed up. It happens, but when you go to do your ride heights and they're 2 inches off, start there. So we're gonna get this left one changed, and then we'll be able to get it on scales, and then I'm sure I'll have to redo a decent amount of the geometry that I had already pre-done, like I had talked to you guys about. So like I said, I make mistakes too. It happens, and that's why you double and triple check yourself. So we're gonna get this changed, and I'll get back with you guys shortly. So you can see the scale is, or the car is on scales right here. What I like to do before I start scaling is step on each pad and make sure it reads my weight correctly. So that way you don't have to worry about your numbers being skewed or anything. So just make sure you zero everything out first and then do that. So basically what I'm gonna do is I have a certain cross number I'm trying to get to, and the total number, or the total weight, and the rear percentage. So what I'm gonna do is play around with the offsets on the shock collars to get my percentages crosswise right. And then I have a couple more weight blocks over here if I need it for total weight. So this is probably gonna take me a little bit longer just because the first time I've done it with a Z09, so I'm not exactly sure if my weight placements are super 100% accurate. So I'm gonna put you guys back on time lapse while I do this, and then I'll kind of explain what all it took for me weighing 127 pounds to get all my numbers where they needed to be. pretty close with all my stuff that I had preset. So I really only had to do a couple turns here and there just to get the percentages right. I am gonna get it back on the ground just to check ride heights since I changed those lowers back to the right orientation, and I'm going to recheck my caster and camber and all that stuff just to make sure that didn't move. Hopefully. I did end up having to add just a little bit more weight in the rear just because I wasn't heavy enough, because obviously being 127 pounds is pretty light. So you get a lot of weight blocks you gotta move around and stuff. But I'm gonna do that. Thank you guys for watching. Depending on when this video gets put out, we'll be testing the following day. So I'll try to have that video up for you shortly after this one goes up, just so you're not waiting in anticipation. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning just how I go about my scale process. One other thing is I generally do this. So I generally scale before and then after. So like the first couple test sessions, just to make sure I'm good on weight post-race, I'll do it full of fuel when I'm on scales right now. And then when we come back, I'll check all those numbers. That's one thing I'm gonna start doing, because that kind of bit me a couple times not knowing where we ended, so I couldn't start there the next time I went to a certain track. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. It really helps us out, and we really enjoy talking to you guys, and hopefully you guys were able to learn some stuff and don't make the silly little mistakes that I made. So we will catch you guys in the next one when we're on track finally and see what this thing can do.